everybody. Welcome back to Manda in the Making, episode 4. If you are new here, this is the soft little corner of the internet that calls you out on every self serving story you've ever created that, let's be honest, does not actually serve your highest, most evolved self. I am your host. My name is Manda. It is so nice to meet you if you are new here. And if you are a returning listener or viewer of the channel, wherever you might be coming from, I just want to start off by thanking you for being here. If you are tuning in because you need some entertainment on your walk or on your drive or while you're cleaning the house, whatever it is that you're doing right now, the fact that you would even click on a podcast with this title, it's enough self-commitment and dedication that you are the kind of person who absolutely should be here, should be listening to something like this. And we are totally on the same vibe, totally on the same vibe, because this is the kind of content I like to consume too. So if you are here, not only do I want to thank you for being here, but I'd also love for you to take a second to thank yourself for being here as well and for showing up to foster some energy into your own development and your own well being. Today's episode is going to be all about motivation or the lack thereof motivation. And I think that this is the perfect timing for an episode like this. It's going to be going live 3 days before the new year. And what more perfect timing to talk about motivation? Oftentimes, the date in and of itself, that January 1st date, is a big motivator for a lot of people to take steps to progress towards their benefit, whether it's within their career, their health, their fitness, personal life, relationships, whatever it might be. It's typically a big time of year where we set really big, exciting goals for ourselves. And in order for us to get up and get after those goals, a lot of us look for and we rely on that motivation, that feeling of motivation. What more appropriate time than right now for us to talk on this topic here? This is such a popular word, motivated. We hear it all the time, but for some reason, it also has an ugly twin sister that's used probably just as frequently, and that word is unmotivated. So I was curious and I Googled some synonyms for the word unmotivated, and some of the synonyms include apathy, lethargy, indifference, unenthusiasm, and laziness. It's crazy because I don't think I ever hear anybody use any of those words. Even if my clients said, that they're not really in the mood to do their workout, they would say, I don't feel motivated to work out, or I feel unmotivated today. They would never say, I feel unenthused. There's something about it that's so different, but it honestly feels a little bit less looming than the word unmotivated. Something about the word unmotivated has such a weird feel. But then again, if we pop back to the synonyms, indifference and laziness, apathy, lethargy, I don't know. None of those words feel like they really encompass that feeling of feeling unmotivated. And you might notice that I'm saying the word feeling a lot. And that is because motivation and lack thereof is in of itself a feeling state. If we look at apathy, lethargy, indifference, unenthusiasm, and laziness, those things are also feelings. People will often say, I'm feeling lethargic, I'm feeling indifferent, I'm feeling kind of lazy today. The word unmotivated would fall within that same realm. I'm feeling unmotivated today. Being motivated versus being not motivated. It isn't in and of itself a permanent state of being. It is of itself a feeling. The same way that you might feel happy, you might feel contempt, you might feel disappointed, sad, angry, etc. Motivation in and of itself is a feeling state. Again, just imagine saying something like, I know I should go to the gym, but I feel unenthused. I mean, that's the kind of thing I would say because I'm a drama queen when it comes to fun, fancy words. But if you're a normal person, you would probably just stick plain and simple with, I know I should be doing this, but I feel unmotivated. I should be going to the gym, but I'm unmotivated. I should be eating healthier, but I'm unmotivated. And I don't think all of those synonyms and words are really accurate for describing that feeling of unmotivation. What I do know for sure is that you do not rise to the level of your goals, but oftentimes you fall to the level of your systems. If you recognize that quote, it is extremely popular. Here we are yet again. Yep, guys, sorry. Another quote by James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. Actually, it's crazy because that is one book that I think everyone should read, but it's one that I don't have on my personal shelf because I think I sold it or I lent it to somebody and I never got it back. But if you can get your hands on Atomic Habits by James Clear, just give it a read. Even if you've read many other books, I think that there's still a lot of good little gems in there. As Clear said, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And this quote sort of debunks and demystifies motivation pretty dead on by suggesting that motivation isn't in and of itself a human problem as much as it really can be from a systemic issue, which means yes. You are not the problem. You are not broken, but you might have a problem system or you might have a broken system in place. There's this idea that when we set these goals, that's when we're going to feel motivated. As soon as we decide we want this thing, we're going to chase after this big, shiny object. That is the moment we're going to feel motivation. In reality, we're constantly going to fall to whatever system that we have built here. And most people don't have systems. We're waiting to feel that motivation in order to then build the system. It's very chicken and the egg type ordeal. Does motivation come first or does the system to get up and get going come first? Did the system to get up and get going come first or did the motivation come first? Motivation might inspire you. We're going to come back to that word inspire a little bit later in the podcast to get up and take some action, but nothing will make you feel more motivated than actually taking of the action. We're going to talk more about this later as well. Now, when we're talking about not rising to the level of your goals, but falling to the level of your systems, I want you to imagine saying that you're going to eat better. Meanwhile, you have a house full of chocolate and candy and chips and not a single healthy snack in sight, right? It's going to feel really motivating to eat the chocolate that is nearby and convenient. It's not going to feel very motivating to eat healthy if you then have to get up, get dressed, get in your car, go to the grocery store, go down the aisles, grab the apple, go through a checkout, get back in your car, drive all the way home. Nothing about that would make you feel motivated to want to eat an apple. Now, imagine that the system you had in place was you actually removed all of the foods that you didn't want to be eating on a frequent basis. As you disclosed, your goal was to quote unquote improve your eating habits, eat better. Imagine again that you removed all of the non favorable food items and instead prioritized at your last grocery shop that you would put food items that fell in line with that goal in your house. You filled your fridge with apples and veggies and chicken, sweet potatoes, peanut butter, all of those amazing things. You're going to feel much more motivated to eat those things when you have a system in place that supports the environment for those things. It is going to be gosh dang hard to cultivate the feeling state that you are desperately searching for when you've got systems that aren't inherently helping you. And I saw a quote the other day that oh my gosh, it was so good. And if you've run into me at any point in the last week, you've probably heard me say it because I've been finding ways to weave it into everything. And the quote goes like this: winners and losers have the exact same goal. And I thought, damn, that is good. But also, gosh damn, that is harsh at the same time. But it's true though. The person who places in first and the person who places in last, they had the exact same goal. When you think about bodybuilding, you think about the Olympics. Okay, let's not even get so specific with bodybuilding. Let's talk about the Olympics. Everybody's aware of the Olympics. I bet you that the person who placed first, the person who placed second, and the person who placed third, or sorry, gold, silver, bronze, I'm willing to bet you they all had the exact same goal to try to win gold. If you think I'm wrong, that's fine. You can leave a comment down below. If you think someone was really shooting for third place, you can let me know. But I'm pretty sure that at the Olympics, they're all aiming for that top place. They all had the same goal. And whether you come first or last, you can have the same goal as other people, but that's not going to dictate if you successfully get to the end and how you successfully get to the end. It's true. Person who places first and the person who places dead last, can have their eyes set on the exact same goal. One of my clients was interested in getting into online coaching. It's a great job. I've been doing it for years. I've helped hundreds of women improve their lifestyle, both with lifestyle, fitness, and nutrition, and doing bodybuilding competitive coaching. And she asked me, she said, Manda, do you think it's even a good idea? Because I know that there's so many coaches out there. And it's like, yeah, sure, there's tons of coaches, but you're going to come across hundreds of other coaches that want to be successful, that want to be educated on your niche, that have similar skills, but the biggest difference is direct plan, the action that's taken to really get to the end result. So anyways, with that ramble, what does that really tell us? Well, it tells us, friends, it is not enough to rely on motivation alone. I'm sorry. It is just not. We cannot sit back and rely on the feeling of motivation. I'm sure the person who placed dead last at the Olympics definitely felt motivated from time to time to do their best to place at the Olympics. Nonetheless, they still came last because why? Well, you do not rise to the pile of your goals, you fall to your systems. And again, motivation and feeling unmotivated are feeling states much like indifference, laziness, and unenthusiasm. Let's dial in just a little bit here. There's going to be days where motivation feels non existent, and for some people, this changes absolutely nothing about their schedule or about their day or about their plans or anything of such. But for some people, when this feeling state, the tired, the overwhelmed, the uninspired, the unmotivated feeling state, when it comes up and that motivation feeling just isn't around, goals seem to fall to the wayside. This is normal. This happens for a lot of people. They wake up and they have those days where they don't feel so motivated, and because of it, their day is dictated based on that feeling. This is the trap that we are going to pick up, grab our stuff, and we're going to escape it. Right now, we're going to do it today. So, I'm ready. Are you ready? Are you guys ready? Let's talk about how hard it really is to chase a goal when you don't feel motivated, especially in fitness, but also in personal growth and in life. All of these concepts, I will say this in every single podcast, but every single concept that I talk about, if I can relate it to the gym, I absolutely guarantee you that we can also relate it to some aspect of life, whether it's relationships, business, finances, or any area of personal development. Let's start off by unpacking why motivation itself as a feeling is unreliable, what actually is going to keep us progressing and moving forward, and how to really show up on the days that you'd rather just quit. Anybody knows what it's like to experience a day where we'd rather just quit. Man, I promise you, people, I'm in that boat with you. I have those days too. And this isn't just going to be a you need to improve your discipline pep talk per se. It's going to be a real conversation about making mistakes, learning, doing the work, even if the work is being done imperfectly, lowering the bar without abandoning your goals, and designing a life where we learn how to keep promises to ourselves even when our feelings aren't on board. And if you've been waiting to feel motivated again, or if you've been looking for motivation, this episode is so for you. And I'm glad again that you found it. Something that I want to address is how normal this feeling state is. I think that from the outside looking in, you might look at what somebody like myself does for a living, the way that I compete in bodybuilding shows, being self employed, running my own business, and so much else, maintaining and sustaining relationships, friendships, family. From that reflective lens, it could look like I am somebody who is extremely motivated. You just wish you had motivation like Manda. But there's a reason this podcast is called Manda in the Making and not Manda full of motivation, because from time to time, we all go through periods where we don't feel motivated. And I know for me, there is something about cold winters here in Canada, having a poor sleep, a really stressful morning. That's funny, actually. I wrote a really stressful morning, or when I feel stressed, or when I'm stressed in the evening. I just wrote when I'm stressed, basically. There is something for me about a cold winter here, a poor sleep, momentaries of stress, times when I feel like my goals are undefined. Motivation is a really, really non existent or fleeting feeling for me. I want to first remind you that feelings are like weather. The same way the cold winter sucks the moisture out of my hands, it also sucks the motivation out of my brain. That feeling state just absolutely disappears. And I want to remind you that feeling states are just like weather. They too will pass. A lot of us make permanent decisions based on emotional temporary weather. Imagine this. Imagine it's raining outside, so you open your umbrella, and because it rained that one time, you decided that you're going to carry that umbrella with you 24/7, 365. Now, what's going to happen? Now, you're going to have these beautiful, bright, sunny days. You're going to have perfect fall weather. You might have a day that's extremely windy. And meanwhile, you're walking around with this umbrella. You could want to stop at your mailbox while you have a coffee in one hand, and you maybe you wouldn't be able to do it because now your hand is full holding this umbrella. Just like the weather, feelings come and go and they pass. You don't have to be defined. You don't have to identify with one feeling state. That's basically my way of saying if you feel like you've been defining yourself as an unmotivated person, you don't have to be that person forever. You can choose, just like the weather, blow it away, just like the wind. But I think it's important to acknowledge this is something that we all feel, and it is so normal, so normal to go through periods where motivation cannot be found. And I can't say why, but for some reason, we all have this idea that motivation is this thing that is supposed to find us. And when we're stuck feeling unmotivated, it's so easy to say, and I quote, I'm waiting for my spark of motivation. Gosh, if I had a freaking dollar for every single time I heard a prospective client on a consultation call with me say, I just haven't been motivated, or I'm waiting for motivation, or I sit down with prospective clients in consultation calls that say, Manda, I need you to be my motivation. This is also when I tell them if they spend their life looking externally for that feeling sense of motivation, they're never going to find it from within. And just like all of our other feelings, they cultivate starting from yourself. In regards to how I respond to that specifically, because I know I have a few other coaches that listen to me, and I think that that could really take something valuable from this. My typical response when somebody says they're looking towards me for motivation, I usually let them know that I can do everything in my power to inspire them. I can continue to check my boxes. I can do the absolute most, but when it comes to motivation, it's always going to come and go. The most successful people do not rely on the feeling state of motivation. Again, I'm so excited to inspire my clients. I will not show up across the world in your bedroom. Mind you, a lot of my clients are in the States. I will not show up across the world in your bedroom with a megaphone shouting in your ear at 8 a.m. Get up, it's time to do your workout. I'm not doing that. There's no way it's happening. Okay. So I can tell you that motivation comes and goes, and the most successful people do not rely on motivation. I can also tell you the real reason why you don't feel motivated. And a big part of not feeling motivated typically will come from a sense of fear. Let's quickly break down some fears. You have your innate fears and you have your learned fears. Now, loud and clear, let me remind you before we get into this next part here, okay? Your brain's job is not to make you successful at life. The only job of your brain is to keep you safe. What does not feel safe? The unknown does not feel safe. Change does not feel safe. And growth, given the level of excitement and unpredictability, growth does not feel safe. Loud and clear, let me remind you, your brain's job is not to make you successful, it is to keep you safe. Okay, two different kinds of fears, your primal and innate fears. These are your survival instincts. You've got two of them, okay? Fear of falling and fear of loud noises. These are the only two fears that are pre programmed into your human brain from the moment that you were born. There is a big fat list now of learned fears or intellectual fears. And these are fears that you develop throughout your life, and they're based on experiences, observations, and conditions. Again, your innate and primal fears, fear of falling, fear of loud noises. Those are your survival instincts. Your intellectual slash your learned fears. This could include things like failure, judgment, shame, the unknown, being wrong, being rejected, feeling misunderstood, and the list goes on and on. And a lot of us will avoid going after the things that we want because we're scared of the learned fears, these psychological fears, the fears that we learned that if we go after what we want, we might risk failure. We might risk judgment. If things don't go well, we'll be shamed. If we strive for something new, the results are unknown. We could go into it and be wrong. We could ask the girl on a date and get rejected. We could tell our best friend how we really feel and be misunderstood. We could try to start a weight loss journey and feel shamed by our family. We could attempt to do a bodybuilding show and risk the unknown. The list goes on, but that's it. The reason that you're sitting here waiting for motivation isn't because you don't know how to cultivate the motivated feeling state, but it's because that motivated feeling state is clouded by a fear. And that, my friends, that is okay. It's normal. It keeps your brain feeling safe. It also then keeps you stuck. In 1980, the American psychologist Bernard Wiener theorized that motivation is a combination of A, how you interpret something, and B, what it makes you think about something. How you attribute those two thoughts together to either take action or to not take action. So you don't react to reality, you react to the notions that you attribute to the reality that you are experiencing. We touched on this a little bit in my last episode when we were going into growth mindset, where I was talking about the cycle where as you perceive things to be, that is how you will respond, and it is how you respond that will continue to drive your thoughts. If you haven't listened to the last episode, I definitely dive a little bit deeper into how your thoughts will determine your behaviors, and then how your behaviors, because of your thoughts, determine your future thoughts. Essentially, we're picking up the same theme here. Your thoughts really do become a lot of your reality. And I want to give you an example of this theory here. A, if you interpret that a bodybuilding prep is going to be extremely hard, that is how you're interpreting something. To B, you're going to think, meh, it seems hard. I probably can't do it. That is what it makes you think about that thing. Because you interpret that a bodybuilding prep is probably going to be hard, you're maybe not going to take a chance on feeling overly quote unquote motivated because you have the fear that it's just going to be too hard. You have the fear that you might fail, that you couldn't do it. If you interpret it as, say, a fueling challenge, you might look it dead in the eyes and chase after it. We're coming back to the concept of you really are what you think and how you choose to perceive the world around you. If you listened to the last week's episode, you would remember the constant theme. If you don't like the way you perceive the world around you, well, it's not your fault. You're not alone, and there's a way through. More in that last episode, we also covered the psychological construct where however you perceive something is the lens in which you'll experience it. Anyways, I think we also need to address the power here of habituation and how that can impact motivation, feelings good and both bad. I want to reference a book. It's called Look Again, The Power of Noticing What Was Always There by Tali Sharot and Cass R. Sustein. This book basically covers how we normalize and habituate to whatever becomes our usual or whatever becomes our norm. And it's really, really plain simple things here too. For example, it is really, really cool that I train at the best bodybuilding gym in all of North America. When I first started going to this gym, it was like I felt like I was at the adventure park every single time I went. But now because I go there all the time, I've normalized it so much so to the point where it's not as wicked, it's not as exciting, it's not as crazy for me to go because I've normalized it. I've habituated to it. Another example of this could be if you're not used to getting up and going for a workout after your workday, it doesn't feel normal. And so you think that you need to feel motivated. But if you are habituated to finishing work and then driving straight to the gym, and that was your normal, there's a better likelihood that it's going to happen. This could also be represented and rooted back into childhood patterns as well. If you consider two adults, one adult that did after school activities and one that did not do after school activities, The adult that's used to that schedule from childhood, where once they finished their school day, which now as an adult is your work day, you then pick up and go play a sport. It won't feel as strange for you as an adult to maybe go to the gym after work. You've gone your entire life doing a day of work, of psychological work or physical work or whatever it is, school or your job, and then going after to do some kind of physical activity. You've essentially habituated to that pattern in and of itself. So, yeah, if you have the circular or non circular thought pattern of how you perceive that thing to look, you might look at somebody like that and think they are more or less motivated. Drawing it back to fear, but keeping us on the same topic, you could potentially even be held back from, we're going to keep using going to the gym as an example, but drawing it back to fear of the unknown, something as simple as, I don't know what the traffic is going to be like on my way home from work to the gym. That fear of the unknown could be a big enough fear to hold you back in a situation like this. Let's take a second here to remind everybody, to remind all of you listeners, that whatever you feel fearful of, it is okay. It is okay. That is the fundamental route to finding that feeling state of motivation to get you in gear. I know for a fact the issue is not that you're lazy. You are not lazy. Even if you perceive yourself as a lazy person, I think it's really unrealistic as an expectation that motivation is going to hit you in this big wave, into this big feeling state. If you're just sitting on the couch all day waiting to feel motivated, obviously it's never going to come. It doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Sometimes that spark of motivation could be something just as small as a what if, maybe someday, I wonder if I could, I wish that was me. And if you have these thoughts and you're not someone who often takes action on them, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're lazy, but also you're just waiting for motivation to get up and take action. And that's not going to be the path forward. So if you've ever found yourself saying any of those phrases, maybe someday, I wonder if I could, I wish that was me, what if, I'm so happy to tell you that there is a path to motivation and there is a path forward, and you can carve it all for yourself. You can whack down that exact path to motivation, and it starts very, 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 very small. Are you ready? Here is exactly what to do if you want to cultivate the feeling state of motivation. It is so simple, so refined, but it is essential to feeling motivated. Are you ready? The way to pave yourself forward into the feeling state of motivation is one small action. If you want to feel motivated to lose your first 5 pounds, find one small action and start there. Order yourself a cute gym fit. Get a cute water bottle. Get a yummy tub of protein powder, Pro HD, Code AJ Lifts. Google a gym nearby you with an aesthetic mirror. Put your shoes near the front door. Pack a gym bag. Stack all of your small wins, because each time you stack a small win or a small actionable item, you build momentum. Let's keep ourselves on theme here with this goal of losing 5 pounds. If all you did on the first day of wanting to lose 5 pounds was drink an extra glass of water and go for a 5-minute walk, those two things alone are enough to get you feeling more motivated. Now, let's say you do those two small things for 2 weeks and then you weigh yourself. Now you're down 0.7 pounds. Bam. There, my friend, appears more motivation. All you did was two small things and you're down almost an entire pound. Then you think, oh my God, I did it. I lost almost a pound. And you ask yourself, I wonder if I could lose more. I wonder if I could do a little more. So you continue to stack those small things, those actionable things, because those actionable things build momentum. And when you're moving through momentum and you're taking action, that is when the results begin to come. And there is nothing more motivating than seeing your own results, reaping the rewards of your actions. Say your initial fear was failure, but now you have proof that you could lose a pound. You now have evidence that you can do it. And this is the part where I say, okay, look around, because anybody else can do something like this, then the universal law will state that that exact same opportunity is available to you. If you are on a similar journey, or if you have any specific goal, I also suggest looking up and finding other people who have accomplished and achieved the things that you wish to accomplish and achieve. If they can do it, you can do it as well. Truly, the motivated feeling state will not come until you start taking action. Now, I'm also going to discuss briefly here the proposition of consistency over motivation, keeping these small promises to yourself because they will continue to move the needle forward. As the famous quote says, as you guys have all heard, what I've basically been saying for 30 minutes at this point is that motivation is going to come and go. Having a consistent routine, consistent system in place is going to help you move forward when the feeling of motivation dips up and down. When it comes to motivation as a feeling state in and of itself, I also find that having a coach or an accountability system can make a massive stride for a lot of people. My clients are consistently breaking through their all or nothing mindsets time and time again. That's why, even if they have one week where they lose 5 pounds, and then they have a week where they don't even lose one, feel they can still feel motivated because they have the assurance that they are still moving forward. On a sidebar here, I also just want to say that there is this weird conceived notion around a plateau or a maintenance week when it comes to fat loss specifically, where if you don't lose weight, you're suddenly taking a step back. And that is just absolutely not true. Let's say 3 weeks in a row, you lose 1 pound, and then on the fourth week, you lose zero. You're still maintaining your result, which, in my opinion, maintenance is still progression. The only thing that's not progression is a regression. So, as long as you're not taking steps back, even if you're staying kind of where you are, you're still moving forward. I want to wrap this up. I know that I could continue driving every single nail into this coffin. Some things just don't need to be any more complicated than what they already are or how they're already perceived. And as somebody who's coached hundreds of women over the years, I can tell you this: my most successful clients are not the most motivated. My most successful clients are not fearless. I am not fearless. I am not the most motivated. My most successful clients and myself, we are the most consistent. We put in our daily 1%. We're communicative when we need help. My clients, they lean on me for support. Each and every day, we show up and we brave an action, even if it starts small, because your actions will build momentum, and momentum will help you feel motivated. These clients know that feeling motivated will not change their lives, but showing up on the days, regardless of how they feel, is what is going to change their life. Quickly before we wrap up, I also just want to highlight a concept from world mythology. This was a course that I took in college, and I thought, I'm never going to use this, but here I am right now. And I want to talk about the archetype of a hero. We're going to keep this short and sweet, guys. Don't worry, I'll let you go very soon. Quick, let's talk about the concept of the hero. The hero has to go into an unexpected territory to deal with a new great challenge and take great risks in the process. Something about themselves has to die or be given up so they can be reborn and meet up to the standard of the challenge. This often requires courage, something rarely discussed in psychology class or textbooks. The archetype of the hero goes through the challenge, the hero goes through the tribulation. The hero has to come out of the other side so that they can be reborn to meet those levels of challenges. Even if we looked at a Marvel story of a hero, gosh, you guys think those guys are feeling quite motivated? A lot of the things they do look like a lot of physical work. And that's coming from me, okay? I do a lot. They definitely are not sitting around feeling motivated 24/7, but they've mastered the process of taking their one small action. And with all of that to be said, if you made it this far into the episode, thank you so much for listening. I can't believe you stayed for the entirety of this episode. If you've made it this far, please, please, please send it to a friend, share it to someone who's in their learning year, leave me a comment. You guys have no idea how far a comment goes, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify. Make sure to subscribe or follow so that you can follow along for the journey. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, and for growing with me. And as always, if you are interested in one-on-one coaching with me, there is always a link in the description box to apply. I love you. Cheers to more clarity, alignment, peace, and choosing ourselves a little louder in 2026. I love ya, and I'll talk to you very, very soon. Goodbye.